It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? Today is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, and we are going to dig into the news. Happy International Women's Day. We're so happy that women are going to be celebrated internationally around the world. However, we still have a lot of damn work to do, and ain't that the truth? There's an opinion article today here called Anti-Women Discrimination Around the World is a Double Whammy if You're Queer. And you can only imagine, of course, the intersectionality that some people face when it comes to these issues. And it's important, of course, on a day like today to have empathy and understand that, hey, you know what, other people might have it worse than I do. Or if you're in one of these intersections, it's a great day to reflect and think about, hey, the world owes you, and how are they gonna settle that debt. So this is an article about how queer people around the world um, they face, of course, increased challenges and barriers to things like intergenerational wealth. So, for example, this is interviewing folks. An activist told this writer that it was all too common for queer women in Tunisia. Many have either been coerced into marrying a man or been broken up with by a girlfriend who was coerced into marrying a man, she said. It's everywhere, it's the backdrop of our lives. Very few of the activists around the world wanted to talk about the criminalization of same sex conduct, marriage equality, or other hot button LGBTQ rights issues. Instead, across interviews with activists in 26 countries, the number one concern among LGBTQ plus women was being coerced into marrying a man. Oddly enough, they are leaving out trans folks here. I don't think it's because they're not standing in solidarity with um, trans people, because that is its own thing. There's like a LBQ movement, which is like a conservative gay movement to specifically leave out trans people. I think what they are saying, my implication here, I'm assuming, giving them the benefit of the doubt, that it just simply means that they didn't interview any trans women as a part of this study. It might is anti-trans. You think so, anti-fur? It is possible. Well, I guess it's time to look up Aaron Kilbride. So this person to me is not anti-trans. It is very bizarre to leave the T out of the LBQ plus. It says here even that Aaron Kilbride is a women's rights and LGBT rights researcher at Human Rights Watch. So yeah, good to know. I think why they're making this. I've spent the last year interviewing lesbian, bisexual, and queer, LBQ plus, women and non-binary activists about the biggest, most life-altering human rights violations and the threats that they face. It is weird to say LBQ plus over here and then non-binary activists as a separate thing. I think they are maybe just trying to make a distinction between having interviewed some people of this intersectionality and some people of a different intersectionality. So good to know. Thank you for catching that, Antifer. It didn't cross my mind the first time. I guess because like in some places it does say LGBT, and some places it says LBQ plus. But if you're out there watching, you should know that there are certain groups where they say LBQ, and they are specifically designed to leave out trans folks. So be suspicious, as Anti-Fur Squirrel is here. So, anyways, instead, across interviews with activists in 26 countries, the number one concern among lesbian, bisexual, and queer women was being coerced into marrying a man. Even in countries with laws explicitly forbidding forced marriage, access to land and property is often tied to having a husband. According to World Bank data, 2/5 of countries worldwide limit women's property rights. In those 44 countries, male and female surviving spouses did not have equal rights to inherit assets. This has devastating effects on LBQ plus. It still sounds weird to me. Organizing and movement building. They face the gendered inequalities all women do, but they are compounded by anti-homosexuality laws and state-sponsored homophobia that expose many of them to police violence and arrest. So yes, you could only imagine what life would be like if you were your only access to stability was through marrying a man, or in some cases, in order to get an apartment, for example, imagine that you needed a male guardian's permission to rent that place to stay. Who saves for retirement if we both make 70 cents on the dollar? So that's another thing that faces lesbian couples, right? Is like, if you're a gay couple, you are still at the intersectionality of being masculine and earning the full dollar, right? But if you're a lesbian couple, then suddenly you're both at that intersection. Both the people in your relationship are at that intersection where you're only making 70 cents on the dollar, or 49 cents, as a 2018 study by the Institute of Women's Policy Research suggests, right? And this might be a worldwide statistic. And yeah, how are my partner and I meant to start a life together if both our older brothers inherited all the family land? That's another thing that faces people in some countries, is that all the family wealth just goes to the eldest brother. So another kind of like law that can affect people's gender inequality. The economic impact of discrimination against all women is well known, but there is shockingly little research on the matter. A 2009 study found that lesbian couples in the US faced poverty at a higher rate than heterosexual married couples or gay male couples. In 2013, an updated version of the same study found the rate of poverty among same-sex female couples is double that of male same-sex couples. So again, highlighting the issue of not just being homosexual or gay or lesbian, but also how gender plays a factor in North America as well. Women's rights and LGBT rights advocates and policymakers have an opportunity to unite on the repeal of sexist property laws around the world, many of which are relics of colonial rule. So this article, honestly, it is making me really think more about the use of this LGBT versus LGB plus. I wonder if it is, like, if there is intention behind that, and this person who is a women's rights researcher and an advocate for these rights, I wonder if there is an intention behind it, kind of like the word BIPOC, which has been used to specifically.
Got to try and take it easy till I get back to normal.
Yo, what's up, Shang Yang Gang? Thanks for following. It's like the word BIPOC, which is kind of a new term that came out in addition to being a person of color, to specifically highlight the intersections of being Black and Indigenous, in addition to people of color, right? So I wonder if it might be being used with that intention. Okay, so there's also a story in Toronto about caste bullying at schools, and it's prompting a new vote for a protected category. We're already 10 minutes in. Oh my goodness. The Toronto District School Board is set to vote on a motion that would include caste as a protected category alongside race, gender, sexuality, and other identities. If passed, the motion would be the first of its kind in Canadian schools. Toronto District School Board trustee Yalini Rajakulasingam brought the motion before a committee on February 8th. On Wednesday, the board will hold a final vote. Ms. Rajakulasingam, who is the trustee for Scarborough North, said parents who identified as members of oppressed castes told her about bullying, harassment, and slurs that their children faced. So as we know, like human rights in Canada are protected for a lot of reasons, including like gender, race, ethnicity, religion, and this is calling to add the caste to that list, and this would be a historical ruling, even just for the Toronto District School Board, to add that to their intersectional lens, and it might be something that we should consider doing in Canada as a whole, like adding this to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So we realized that even at the TDSB Human Rights Office, there was no way to file a complaint under caste. Ms. Rajukula Singham said it was being filed as either race or religion. And we know that caste is its own specific power structure. It doesn't function like race, it is its own category. So if you're unfamiliar with the caste system, it's something that's popular in like Southeast Asia and like India and Sri Lanka. On the lowest rung of the caste ladder in South Asia are the Dalits, who were previously pejoratively referred to as untouchables. When India gained independence from British rule in 1947, its new constitution, which was written by Dalit civil rights activist Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, explicitly banned caste discrimination and established affirmative action for oppressed castes. However, Dalit rights activists in India and abroad argue that prejudice against oppressed castes has continued into modern-day South Asian societies around the world. India's growing Hindu nationalist movement has targeted Dalits among with Muslims, Sikhs, and Christians. So yeah, it's very much still a problem. As someone who lived in South Asia, I very much had that feeling that like there is still remnants of a caste system there. So of course, when these communities come to Canada, and there's large communities of them in the GTA, for example, we might see an overlap of that type of discrimination happening. So oddly enough, there is opposition to this. A group called the Canadian Organization for Hindu Heritage Education has started a petition calling for a stop to the motion. The group says that adding caste to the list of protected identities is Hindu-phobic. And the caste system, of course, has its roots in Hinduism, but also exists in many other communities, including the South Asian, African, and Caribbean diasporas. So to me, this is one of those things. It's like, hey, we need to stop racism, or this is like casteism, I guess, in a way. But imagine just like if you were to call out somebody and be like, hey, we need to stop racism, and then somebody takes offense to that, and they're like, hey, no, wow, I can't believe you're targeting me by trying to end racism. It's almost like, is anyone in here a racist? And like somebody like raising their hand. That kind of is the sense that I get, that there is actually opposition to a motion like this. So an oppressed caste girl in the 11th grade was told by her classmate that if she were a prostitute, she would not even get a penny because she had dark skin, he said, outlining one such incident. How can you say there is no caste oppression in Canada? In January 2022, California State University made caste a protected category. In December, Brown University became the first Ivy League university to do so. So this is kind of going to be maybe a historic ruling, and I do hope it is something that gets extended to all of Canada. Ms. Rajukula Singham says that when we recognize oppression and we begin to speak out about it, students can heal and feel empowered by their identities, like how we feel accepted by racial identity. We want students to feel accepted by whatever their caste location is, she said. So, I think this is great to see that there is like even more advancement on intersectionality and human rights happening in Canada. So this is a bit of a juicy story that we should probably get into as it unfolds. A Canadian Judicial Council the Canadian Judicial Council is investigating a complaint against Supreme Court Justice Russell Brown. So this is what he looks like. And can you even just imagine going to work every day and wearing like a Santa Claus outfit, basically, or you look like you sit on like the Ministry of Magic or something like that? Supreme Court Chief Justice Richard Wagner placed Justice Russell Brown on a paid leave of absence after being informed of a disciplinary complaint against him a day earlier and discussing it with him, the court said on Tuesday. The revelation came soon after the Canadian Judicial Council, a disciplinary body for federally appointed judges, announced it is investigating Justice Brown. It did not say why or who made the complaint. So again, this is going to be something that we'll probably have to watch a little bit. It seems to be like they're making a big deal about it, bigger than other complaints in the past. Complaints can be made anonymously. It can be, and it was revealed that this is a complaint from a member of the public. So if the complaint is deemed serious enough to warrant potential dismissal from the job, which pays $403,300 a year. Oh my goodness, can you imagine making that much money? The council could order a public inquiry. No Supreme Court judge has been subject to such an inquiry, according to Gavin McKenzie, a lawyer and author of the legal in the area of legal ethics. So this is kind of like the first of its kind for a Supreme Court judge. To give you some background about Justice Brown, they were appointed by conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper in 2015. In the span of 2.5 years, they went from the Court of King's Bench to the Court of Appeal, and then finally to the Supreme Court of Canada, basically at the hand of Stephen Harper there. So he is a self-described conservative libertarian. Which probably means something different for somebody who's like very familiar with law and very educated. It might not be the same as like, you know, the American chauvinist version of libertarian that we always see. In a way, like I consider myself a libertarian as well, a socialist libertarian, not a conservative libertarian though. So he has rebuked a majority for its liberal rulings on equality for women, saying the court has overstepped its role. So that's kind of, that might be part of his identity there. He also dissented in a major environmental case, saying the federal government lacked the authority to impose a carbon tax on the provinces. Okay, so again, you can kind of tell what side of the fence he is on here. Mr. McKenzie, who was the lawyer, said he is not aware of any Supreme Court judge taking or being put on a leave of absence pending resolution of a complaint. We do not know whether Justice Brown agreed to take a leave of absence, he said. In the practical sense, the complaint means they could be weeks or months or never before Justice Brown's return, leaving the court short-handed and Western Canada short one judge. So the way that the Supreme Court traditionally works is that there's 2 judges from the West, 3 from Ontario, and 1 from Atlantic Canada. And by law, 3 from Quebec. Quebec always needs to get their cut of the pie. So in the absence of meaningful transparency, the public is left to speculate about what is going on, and this does not seem particularly healthy for public confidence in the court. So, Canada's reputation has been taking a lot of hits as of late, especially when it comes to free and fair elections. And now it seems like there is some hits to our Supreme Court. So it's a bit unfortunate that this is happening, but when we eventually do find out, if we do find out what is going on, maybe it will be something juicy. By the sounds of it, it's a pretty big deal. So Emmett McFarlane, who is at the University of Waterloo, a political science professor, said that at this stage there are probably good reasons not to know, but he said he found the court's initial silence on the leave odd and wonders how much the public will ultimately be told. So hopefully we do get details. Canada and EU have pledged stronger support and economic and energy ties, and they've reaffirmed their support for Ukraine. Surprise, surprise. It's not like we knew that they were going to continue supporting Ukraine. So Canada and the European Union announced a suite of their new measures Tuesday to strengthen economic ties and align their support for Ukraine. European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen gave a rare address to parliamentarians late Tuesday and alongside Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The 2 leaders sought to underscore the long-standing ties between Europe and Canada, calling each other trusted friends and pointing to the invasion of Ukraine ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin as a flashpoint that brought the 2 governments closer together. together. So, I mean, this is one of the unintended side effects of Vladimir Putin's aggression, is that, well, he's kind of forced all the NATO forces to kind of rally and show their solidarity as well. And of course, even more countries who are scared of Russia and in their more immediate vicinity have even joined NATO during that time. So Mr. Trudeau told the dignitaries gathered in the House that Miss von der Leyen is one of the many women around the world who have become the face of resistance to autocracy. So I guess this is like some girl boss virtue signaling, probably the day before International Women's Day. And something we get. It's like, yes, we're girl bossing our way to war. At the press conference earlier today, Mr. Trudeau announced the federal government would extend its engineering training mission in Ukraine to at least the fall and deploy Canadian Forces medical trainers to help with combat medical skills. Ottawa is also investing $3 million to remove landmines in Ukraine and working with the European Union to help restore Ukraine's power grid. So, this is kind of like just a showcasing, and they're maybe meeting over Ukraine, but they're also laying some groundwork for some long-term efforts, because Canada has a lot of resources, and Europe is really reliant on not only Russia but China, and they're trying to basically wean themselves off that reliance, and they're hoping, I think, that Canada can be the future source for resources. They're citing here, like, saying hydrogen, and they want a commitment to an EU-Canada hydrogen supply chain. I think the EU is going quite hard on hydrogen energy and hydrogen powered trains and stuff like that. Basically, one step beyond electric. So, potentially exciting, but I mean, the what is really happening here around the Russia Ukraine conflict, we don't necessarily know, but this is coming in the face of Russia and China showing their own solidarity. Beyond the joint response to the war in Ukraine, there is also a call for Canada's critical minerals, because the European Union is currently reliant on China, who produces 98% of their supply of rare earth minerals. Canada has a wealth of critical raw minerals, but has been criticized for slow and cumbersome regulatory processes required to scale up production. So, the interesting thing here, it does feel like an extension of the European colonization of the indigenous territories and nations that are Canada. They're basically saying, hey, there's too much red tape, and we need to expedite this process in order to show strength against Russia and China. We need to get rid of this red tape, and that is kind of like a theme that we've been seeing across some stories in the past week. Miss von der Leyen said they want to set up a green alliance between the European Union and Canada with the goal of creating jobs, promoting growth, and boosting energy and climate cooperation. So the weird part to me is that they call this a green alliance. I guess you could say that hydrogen is green, but when we're also talking about the extraction of raw minerals, maybe not so much. Okay, last story of the day. We're definitely over time, and I'm probably going to edit this video down a bit, but that's okay. Liberals filibuster opposition attempt to call PM's chief of staff to testify on Chinese interference. So this is something that happened yesterday. We're probably going to watch the video to see what is quite constituting as filibustering here. It's almost like comedy. In a way, it's better to watch the raw footage, because some people might have a certain opinion about it and other people will have another opinion. So, Liberal MPs mounted a filibuster Tuesday to stop the opposition from calling the Prime Minister's top aide to testify before a Commons committee studying Beijing's election meddling. Frustration efforts to delve deeper into what the government knew. Last week, Justin Trudeau repeatedly cited the work of that committee as one reason not to set up a public inquiry into Chinese interference in the 2019-2021 elections. Instead, he announced on Monday that there will be 2 closed-door probes into the matter, something we've been covering here at length on our channel. But the work of the Commons Committee on Procedures and House Affairs ground ground to a standstill on Tuesday when Conservative Bloc Quebecois and NDP MPs tried to pass a motion to force the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, to testify about what she and Mr. Trudeau knew about China's election interference operations and what they did to stop them. Now, it should be known that typically staffers are not called before the committee. And Mrs. Telford, who looks like this, um, she is not typically put in front of the committee in this way, and because I mean the committee, I guess, like, they are elected officials, and Mrs. Telford is just a staffer. They are not. She is not necessarily beholden to anyone except for perhaps Mr. Trudeau. So, anyways, moving on. Mrs. Telford, who has been Mr. Trudeau's top advisor since the Liberals formed government in 2015, attends most national security briefings and would know how seriously the Prime Minister took warnings from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service about Chinese interference. Liberal MPs ran out the clock at the Procedure and House Affairs Committee's Tuesday morning session and did not show up for an afternoon session. Without quorum, the afternoon meeting was unable to proceed. So honestly, I don't really understand why the Liberals are doing this. If I'm being honest, it seems like it's one of those things where, like, oh, it just makes you look guilty because you don't want to talk about it and you're actively avoiding talking about it. It would be much better, in my opinion, to simply prepare for this because they probably knew it was coming. But instead, they are just trying to avoid talking about it. And I don't really understand that. Conservative MP Michael Cooper here is saying that she is the key, talking about Katie Telford, to getting it to the heart of this scandal. That is, what did the Prime Minister know? When did he know about it? And what did he do about it, or fail to do about Beijing's interference in our elections? So I don't know. This is just like another kind of scandal where it's just like, when did Mr. Trudeau know about things? And then I don't know. It's kind of like ridiculous and boring to me. But again, here, NDP MP Rachel Blaney is expressing her disappointment and saying that normally they don't call on staffers to be questioned like this, but we're sort of past that line with so many CSIS leaks and the public becoming increasingly concerned. Liberal MP Greg Fergus, who led off the filibuster, said in a statement that he opposed the move to summon Ms. Telford because he feels it is inappropriate to call political aides before committees. Political staffers are offside. Ministerial responsibility is a long-standing parliamentary tradition, he said. So, personally, I don't quite like when people refer to tradition or decorum. I think, if the Liberals are serious about getting to the bottom of this, then they should be forthcoming in incidents like this. Mr. Blanchette said Beijing must be slapping its sides after hearing Mr. Trudeau has opted for a secretive process. I think Beijing probably is slapping its sides, maybe not for the reasons that Mr. Blanchette is thinking, but probably because this leak from inside CSIS has caused such a flurry of infighting, and it's basically the only thing that we've been able to talk about meaningfully for 2 weeks now. Pierre Poilievre, argued that Mr. Trudeau doesn't want an independent public inquiry because such an investigation might expose that the government ignored CSIS's warning. The Prime Minister countered that Mr. Poilievre is undermining Canadians' faith in democratic institutions. Now, unfortunately, I feel like this is one of those cases where both things are true. Like, maybe Justin Trudeau did ignore CSIS's warnings, and maybe this entire process is destroying Canadians' faith in democracy. And sadly, that is the state of things. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh told reporters Tuesday he still believes a public inquiry is the best course of action, but Mr. Singh, who has agreed to back the minority Liberal government until June 2025, also said he's open to other options so long as the process is independent and public. Although right now the process is not public. However, it is independent because they have to appoint the special rapporteur who will tell us what is the best course of action, even if it's a public inquiry. So The last thing, the main takeaway of anything concrete that's going to happen here is that the Canadian Coalition of Foreign Influence Registry says that it represents more than 30 civil society groups and called on the Trudeau government Tuesday to create a registry that could combat foreign interference by keeping track of people in Canada who are working for other governments. Now, this is something that was already in the works before this entire scandal came out, something that the Liberals, I believe, promised during their election run. And so this whole hullabaloo basically is going to result in the action that was already kind of like planned to take place. But there will be a lot of positioning around it, a lot of finger pointing, especially at Trudeau. What did he know and when did he know it? If you care, you can keep watching this channel because we're following this story pretty closely. Thank you so much for tuning in to my homie Tutaro. We went really late today, partly because we had to figure out why someone is using a certain acronym over another one. And we really appreciate you being here. If you can, please tell us what story you liked the best in the comments and put your timestamp. I also want to know what animated movie you are most excited for coming out in the near future. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow on my homie Tutaro with the Canadian top headlines. Bye.